Hello everybody and welcome back to Full House Sports here with myself, Charlie. And before the video starts, please like, comment and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. Now, Wednesday morning sees the Rugby 2027 World Cup. I've really messed up how I said that. The 2027 Rugby World Cup draw taking place. It is, of course, the first time it is a 24-team World Cup. We've not had that before. It's been maximum 20. It's now been expanded once again. We've seen some new nations, some returning faces as well. And the draw is going to be done on Wednesday morning, which is why these autumn internationals recently was such a big storyline running through. It would be who would get into pot 2 and who would get into pot 3. There's a lot of moving parts around those 10 to 15 world rankings, as well as the top 5 and top 6, who would be in pot 1. Pot 1, of course, sees the big hitters, the ones you'd expect: England, France, Ireland, South Africa, New Zealand and Argentina, who I think for the first time find themselves in pot 1. That's fantastic to see. And I know I always bang on about Argentinian rugby, but I do think it's really well deserved and is an incredible achievement from them. Pot 2 sees the hosts Australia, Fiji, Scotland and Wales alongside Japan. Italy take part. That took me a while to figure out there. And then pot 3 sees Georgia and Tonga, Uruguay, Chile. I'm going to try and know them all, and I'm going to no doubt mess it up. Pot 4, I think the main big hitter in pot 4 is Samoa, who scraped through qualification, I think it's fair to say. Yes, they were impressive in their first 2 games against Brazil and Namibia, but they drew with Belgium 13-all and were really lucky to get through. Belgium were unlucky, and perhaps if a bit more experience would have got there. Pot 4 also features the return of Zimbabwe, quite a poignant moment because they took part in the first Rugby World Cup in 1987. And as well, Hong Kong come to the tournament, or Hong Kong, China, I should say, officially as they're listed, come to the tournament as newcomers. It's going to be interesting, this Rugby World Cup, this expanded format. I like it. I think Tier 2 rugby, I'm an advocate of Tier 2 rugby. I think that it's good to get more nations involved. I do think there's quite the quality disparity in potentially some of the pools, and there will be. I know people say you'll always get that as a major tournament, but I do think that there is that to factor in. If you get Samoa in pot 4, you know you're in for a toughie. Whereas if you get Hong Kong or Zimbabwe, you're probably looking and going, I'm not in for such a tough game. But you never know. You never know. Zimbabwe, I've got players playing all around Europe now. Cleopas Kundiona, of course, is at my local club, Northampton Saints. You never know what could happen. I think there's a lot of interesting angles about who could get who. What I think will be interesting, for example, is what happens though then in the knockout stages, because a lot of people, perhaps myself included, have perhaps raised concerns that the knockout stages, certainly the round of 16, may not be as competitive as you'd like. Could we see 70, 80-point games in the knockout stages? You don't know, because you're going to get 4 of the third place teams in the pools getting through. That could mean who knows who gets through. Yes, it's great for Tier 2 nations to have the chance, but you only have to look at, for example, Ireland did to Portugal earlier this year, and perhaps go, do you want that at a knockout stage in your major tournament? That's the question that needs to be asked. Perhaps the format may need tweaking, but then how do you tweak a format with 24 teams in? Rugby's at a bit of a crossroads. I like the expansion, I really do. I'm not sure that it will maybe be one for the purists to start off with. As for the draw alone, I think there's definitely teams you'd want to avoid. For example, from an English point of view, I think the last thing we'd want to draw would either be Australia, because I think at home they'll be phenomenal, especially being a young team. If you've got Australia, Georgia and Samoa, that's a tough group, a really tough group. Of course, there is easier options. There is group's death, but there is, like I say, an interesting potentials there. It'd be interesting, like I say, who gets who, because one thing I think with the Rugby World Cup draw, and one thing that as football fans probably people struggle to get around, is it's done a lot earlier, which means that teams can really come on leaps and bounds. We've seen that in World Cups of the past, especially 2015, I remember, and I'm not just saying it's a sour Englishman, but you had England, Wales, Australia all in the same pool, and it was tough to know that one of them was going to go out early doors. You knew that was going to happen. It's not great. You have Wales, Fiji, Australia, for example, at the last World Cup. That was another example of that. So hopefully that avoids teams going home in the pool stages. I say, early on, you never know. We'll see what the pool stage is saying. It'll be interesting to see who the hosts get. I think the last thing they'd want, or maybe the best thing they'd want. I imagine Australia, New Zealand as the opening game. That would be incredible. You never know. Like I say, always something to look forward to, though. Always interesting, especially with the Nations Championship coming in next year. Be interesting to see teams building towards that. Teams playing each other who'll play each other in the World Cup. We've also got the Tier 2 Nations Cup going on. So the games will go on in England. I think I'll hopefully be getting down to some of them. So real all roads lead to Australia in 2027. It's all getting a bit real. As always, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. Anything you guys do is greatly appreciated as I try and become a one-man sports news bandwagon. As always, have a great day.